economics, coding education, where young can I invest? We'll be having your mental health, see how reading comes to life in your heart, and let's creativity, how we make things truly possible.
Old Testament, fathers of the faith, Moses, yeah, the big item first. Oh, talaga. And then later.
Danny Bullard.
It's legit. Ano? Okay, I'll eat that. Ang good.
Hindi ba? It's your... Yum, yum.
Recommend.
kunin mo.
Wait, can I water bottle?
This is your chicken butt. I'll give you, wait, wait, wait.
Yeah.
So good.
Tapos third siya.
So I was watching this sermon a few days ago, and it really opened my eyes to something about Jesus that I hadn't thought about deeply before. His humanity and what it really meant for him to be a rabbi. So to even qualify to be a rabbi, by the age of 6, you had to memorize the Torah. That's Genesis, Exodus, Leviticus, Numbers, and Deuteronomy. And if you continued, you would then move on to memorizing the entire Hebrew Bible. That's Genesis to Malachi. And the test wasn't even about giving answers, it was about asking the right questions. And that's how they measured your understanding. And it makes me think about that moment in Luke chapter 2 when Jesus was 12 in the temple. It says the teachers were amazed at his questions, and even at that age, he was standing out. By 30, if you had made it through all of that, you could become a rabbi. But there were two kinds: those without authority, who could only repeat the teachings they had been given, and those with authority who could offer a new interpretation. Jesus was recognized as one with authority. That's why his words about taking on his yoke carried weight. Now, yoke isn't a word we really use anymore. A yoke was a wooden beam that connected two oxen together so they could pull a load side by side. And without the yoke, the animals would go in different directions. The yoke kept them aligned, moving with the same rhythm and carrying the same weight. So when rabbis talked about their yoke, they were using that image to describe their teaching. Their yoke was their interpretation of scripture, their way of living out the law, and their vision for how to walk with God. To take on a rabbi's yoke meant you were committing to live as they live. To be yoked to them was to say, I will walk in step with you. I will carry life the way you carry it. So when Jesus says, take my yoke upon you, my yoke is easy and my burden is light, he's saying, walk with me, learn from me, live the way I live. And unlike the heavy, complicated yokes of religion that people were used to, his yoke brought rest and life. And what's striking is how Jesus went about choosing his disciples. Normally, students would chase after rabbis, and only the best of the best were accepted. But Jesus flipped that. He didn't go to the schools, he went to fishermen. And these were men who had already been told in one way or another that they didn't make the cut. They had gone back to their trade, yet Jesus chose them. He called the ones everyone else had overlooked. And then he called the tax collector, which is Matthew. That would have been hard for the fishermen to accept because tax collectors worked for Rome and often took money from their own people. So for Jesus to put a tax collector on the same team as fishermen was like saying, can you forgive this man? Can you walk with him? Because if you can, then you can truly follow me. And that's the yoke of Jesus. His teaching wasn't just about where we go when we die, it was about how to bring heaven into the broken places of this world right now. His yoke isn't heavy, it brings life, not burdens. But it makes me stop and ask, have we changed the yoke? Have we made it heavier than Jesus ever intended? Are people rejecting him because of who he is? or because of the way we've presented him. When I look at Jesus, I see someone who didn't condemn. He went into dark places, not to complain about them, but to bring light. He forgave, he healed, he set people free. And even while he was on the cross, he was still thinking of others. That is his yoke, love that saves. So maybe the question we should ask ourselves is this: when people look at my life, do they see the heavy yoke of religion or the easy yoke of Jesus? Because if his yoke is love, grace, and mercy, then my prayer is that I live in a way that fulfills scripture, not just argues about it, that my life reflects his teachings more than my words do. Because the real yoke of Jesus doesn't just make us smarter, it makes us more like him.
It's not going.
Wait lang, te.
We are about to receive from the bounty. Based on the or AI or